Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Verse number 46 in chapter 2. यावानर्थ उदपाने सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः. Very intriguing metaphor here. Very nice also. The idea is to look at a particular example. And what is the let's first, before we get into the verse, let us look at the context that was set up by verse number 45. Traigunya vishaya vedaha nistraigunyo bhavarjuna nirdvandvo nitya sattvastha niryogakshema atmavan. And here Arjuna was told a very important fact. And what is the fact? That it is very easy to get into the get trapped into the three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, because of which the world runs. Very, very good. Very, very easy to get trapped into that. And that is exactly what has to be avoided. So, therefore, please transcend the three gunas. And how to transcend the three gunas was talked about very effectively. And what was that? To become immune to pairs of opposites, alternating happiness, sorrow, and heat and cold, sukha, dukkha, everything. And then nirdvandvo bhava, nitya sattvastho bhava, to catch hold of sattva guna very, very firmly. And then niryoga kshemo bhava, atmavan bhava. Atmavan means the one who is in possession of oneself, the one who is together. And niryoga kshemo bhava means let go of the fear of trying to, let go of the fear of thinking that things are not going your way, and let go of the penchant or the obsession of trying to manipulate the universe, manipulate the people in the universe, and manipulate others in one's own circle, people in general and people in one's own circle. When you stop doing that, then you will understand a very important fact. What is that fact? That there is a Bhagavan out there, out everywhere, not out there, out there because of lack of understanding. There is Bhagavan, and this Bhagavan is the truth of this body, mind, sense complex, and is the truth of the entire universe as well. The universe is not an accident, and you are not put in this situation, in this setup, for some kind of a sadistic, what's that, Bhagavan being sadistic and wanting you to suffer. No, you are put in the universe because of one's own karma. And that karma has to be accepted, embraced, and transcended through knowledge. There is no other way of transcending karma at all. No other way. How can there be any other way? There is no other way. Because karma is a spoof. It is, as long as you consider yourself, and we have talked about this before, as long as you consider yourself a karta, karma is there. And as soon as you drop kartritvam, karma is gone. And so that dropping the kartritvam, this kind of a process of dropping the doership, does not happen at all until and unless one one understands that these raga and these dveshas are not getting me anywhere. The strong likes and dislikes are not getting me anywhere. In fact, they are an impediment to my growth, to my emotional maturity, to my adhikaritvam. Adhikaritvam means my ability to be fit for this knowledge, my qualifications. I'm not able to do this. And so, therefore, I have to overcome the raga dveshas. And we saw some tips of how to do that, especially strong prejudices and preferences, which in Pujya Swamiji's words are called binding raga and dveshas, meaning very strong prejudices, very strong preferences, which create a pressure to be fulfilled in the heart. Such things, such ones must be first minded. And how to mind them? We saw all kinds of tips last week, from delayed gratification to changing the channel, ignoring it, doing something else, etc., etc. We saw all that. So this is the context. And then what is presented in verse number 46, with this context, now we can look at verse number 46. What is presented is that the metaphor, an example of what happens to the desires of a fulfilled person. What happens? Does that person have no desire at all? And if the fulfilled person, if the gnani, if the person who knows the atma gnani, has no desires, then why will he or she teach? Because teaching itself is out of desire. Why will he or she write books? So all these things show that it's not that the gnani is not having desires, but there is a difference between the desire of the gnani and the desire of the Agnyani. What is that? Many differences. Difference number one, the desire of the Agnyani is binding in nature. It's like a vice grip, which does not give the person, afford the person the privilege of even a good night's sleep because of the unfulfilled raga dveshas. One is staying up. When will this happen? When will this happen? I'm waiting for a miracle. When will this happen? Why is this not happening? And then why is this other thing happening? These kinds of things. So there is no peace of mind, and there is always a sense of conflict. So the first difference between the desires of a gnani and the desires of an agnyani is what? Why the desires of the latter, the agnyani, are binding in nature, meaning they bind her or him to do action, to fulfill those desires, because they are exerting this pressure. And that pressure itself leads to action, and the action leads to results of action. And then there is that samsara loop all over again. The results of action eventually lead to rebirth. But in the but in the short run lead to frustration, because I don't like the results of action. And then you initiate more action, so it becomes binding in nature. So this is the first difference. Whereas the desires of the Agnyani are not binding in nature. That's the first. Oh, it would be nice to have this. And then what happens? And then that desire, as we will see a little later in this chapter itself, what is the hallmark of the Gnani? Prajahati yada kaman sarvan manogatan kaman prajahati. Prajahati means prakarshena jahati, the one who lets go of what? Even thoughts and fancies. See, the desire is not a full-fledged desire when it presents itself in the mind. It's in the form of a thought. Then you entertain the thought for a little longer, then it becomes a fancy. Then you entertain a fancy for a little longer, then it becomes a desire. Then you entertain the desire a little longer, you dwell on the desire, then it becomes a binding desire. But for the Gnani, this whole chain is broken up, is cut up immediately, because as soon as the desire arises in the mind, since there is no unfulfilled feeling in the heart, since there is no sense of insecurity, unfulfillment, atrupti, unfulfillment. Since it is not there, that desire, that fancy does not take the shape of a desire at all. It's a thought, and just like so many other thoughts, the one thought comes, oh, I wish I had this, and that just like the other thoughts which you don't even know you have thought of, go away. They come and they go. They are kshanika, like the vrittis. They keep pulsing in the mind. They come and they go. We cannot even make a list of all the thoughts. It would be impossible. There are so many. Starting with, I think I need to get out of bed. It is nearly noon. Even this, that thought also. Starting with that thought, there are too many thoughts to enlist. But all those thoughts we don't even remember because they have had but a fleeting presence in the mind. So it is too quick for the ahankara to catch hold of it and to make it my thought, my fancy, my desire. So those thoughts are just meaningless because they just come and go, come and go, come and go. But certain thoughts, because of the power of the raga dveshas and because of the identification of one as a ragi and the dveshi as the one who is who is nothing but a ball of raga and dvesha, preferences and prejudices, such people, what happens for the Agnyani? There is a there is a there is a clinging to that. There is a clinging. The Agnyani clings to that. But for the Gnani, the thought of a desire is like any other thought. It just comes and it goes. It is not really delved into. It's not dwelt upon. It's not identified with. That's the difference. First difference. That's why the desire does not become binding. Whereas for the Agnyani, the raga dveshas are lurking there. And when the thought that matches the raga and matches the dvesha presents itself, then what happens? When the thought comes and it is matching a raga, the ahankara, the mind catches hold of it. The ahankara says, this is my desire. It's mine alone. Me. I want it. I have to have it. First, oh, it'll be nice if I have it. And then, oh, I think I really want it. I want it. I want it. I want it. Oh, please, 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 I want it. And then after that, I have to have it. And if you don't have it, I'm going to make your life miserable until I have it. That's the last portion. So this is the first difference. And between the Gnani and the Agnyani, the thoughts are, the fancy itself. At the level of the fancy, the Agnyani has no identification with that thought. So just like so many thoughts come into the mind, that is Ishvara Srishti. Ishvara's setup is for the thoughts to come into the mind. But why this setup? Why Ishvara has made it so that all the thoughts come into the mind? Ishvara has made it so that all the thoughts come into the mind, so that otherwise you cannot eat, you cannot move, you cannot. You have to be a sharira dhari. You have to hold on to this body. How are you going to do that? Because if the thought that I'm not hungry come, it does not. The thought that I'm hungry doesn't come, then you can't eat. And when the thought that I'm full doesn't come, you will not stop eating. This is all very, very interesting. And so therefore, the setup is there for the thoughts to fall into the mind. And it is Ishvara Srishti. You don't have a say over your thoughts. Why? Because if I ask you just now, what is going to be your next thought, please tell me, you will not be able to tell. Even if you manufacture something, next I'm going to think of a bicycle. See, that's my next thought. That's not your next thought. Your next thought was to say, let me outwit this, let me outwit this experiment. That was your next thought. So you see, you don't even know that when the next thought is coming. And so, therefore, it is Ishvara Srishti. Experientially, we know this, that we are not in charge of our thoughts. And Shruti wise, also, we know from the beginning mantra of the Keno Upanishad. Keneshitam patati preshitam manaha. Impelled by whom? Compelled by which force do thoughts fall into the mind? Is the question of the student to the teacher. How ingenious. Because nobody really think of thoughts. In fact, thoughts think you. You don't think the thoughts. We give the power to the thoughts by identifying with them. And then in 2 minutes, one can become depressed. You can do it consciously. You just keep saying, nobody loves me. In the beginning, it will be, oh, come on, this is preposterous. I have such a nice, loving family. I have people around me. I have friends. I have relatives, everything. No, no, this is preposterous. Then repeat it again. Nobody really loves me. And then you repeat it again. After a few repetitions, then you start looking for clues. And those clues are all just very subjective and really they don't matter. But then, because there is some kind of a resonance with this Ajnanam, and that Ajnanam produces all kinds, produces an alternative, produces and projects an alternative universe. As false as the sunset behind me, and it produces and sustains this alternative universe. After a while, it starts to look true. It starts to look true. And then you start feeling depressed. Then you start feeling angry. Then, as soon as the significant other who went out, leaving you in a very happy, with a happy demeanor, comes back and finds you extremely upset, angry, and very, very, what's the word for it? Very, very depressed. And so, like this, when the thoughts have power, because in the beginning you think the thoughts, and when the ahankara identifies the thought with the thoughts think you. That's the second difference between the Gnani and the Agnyani. The Gnani's thoughts do not think the person. They have a say over the ways of the mind because of the knowledge, because of all the sadhana which went before the knowledge, because of all these things, that the thoughts never are given the power to overtake the mind, to overtake the heart. This is the second difference. And so the thoughts for the Gnani, and I saw this with Pujya Swamiji, they are there. It's not that the Gnani's mind is free of thoughts. The thoughts are there, but they are kind of diffuse, and they are like thoughts without an owner. There is no owner. There is no ownership of the thoughts. And it's like a pravaha. It is like the Gnani is in an open eye samadhi all the time. And it's a very interesting kind of a quote unquote samadhi, because the very definition of the samadhi is thoughtlessness, according to Yoga Sutra. Yogaschitta vritti nirodha. So here, it's not thoughtlessness. It's not like otherwise the Gnani being awake would be in a permanently vegetative state. There are no thoughts that can be documented. There is no brain activity. But no, the brain is active, thoughts are there, and yet one commands a samadhi, a very interesting samadhi, a samadhi that is uninterrupted uh, despite the flow of thoughts. Very beautiful if we really ponder on it. So the thoughts are going on, but there is no thinker. But then where is the thinker? There is no thinker. There is no authorship. There is no agency. There is no connection for this thought. This thought is mine. That there is no myness with the thought. So what happens is very interesting things. There are two realities kind of going unfolding at the same time. The Vyavaharika, where the Gnani, the thoughts of the Gnani are flowing, the actions of the Gnani are flowing in the demand of the present moment. Somebody wants to say, wants something, somebody else is asking something, some third person is saying something, so the Gnani is responding. But at the same time, the other reality is also very much there in the present, the Paramarthika Satta, that reality which is undisturbed by the thoughts. Whereas for the people without this knowledge, they constantly flip between one reality and the other. Oh, now I'm in samadhi. Oh, what a lovely samadhi. As soon as you say that, the samadhi is broken, and then one is broken because the samadhi is broken. And then it is business as usual. And then I have to do this. And then I have a wonderful spiritual oneness. All of a sudden, I'm having an experience of oneness. Oh, lovely, how nice it is. And this usually happens after a Vedanta retreat, after attending a few classes, after a guided meditation. Ah ha ha. And here I can use the word bliss. Usually I don't, but here one feels so blissful. Ah ha ha, wonderful. Until what? Until somebody cuts you on the road. That's that. Oh, how dare they have road rage? Look at this road rage. And this road rage is there too much, and nobody's doing anything about it. America is full of guns, and people are crazy, and this is what is happening. And what happened to your mind now? Yeah, you are also in road rage. Your the road rage is the compound. So you have you have road on you have rage on the road. That's how you resolve the compound. And whereas the other person, you just have the rage. The other person, because of that raging, is causing havoc. You are not causing havoc. You are just imploding. The other person is exploding. This is the thing. So, in Pujya Swamiji, I could see that there are two pravahas at the same time. Pravaha means flow. It's very, very beautiful, this is. So, one was just being with oneself. He was so deeply in himself that really there was no doubt that there was no need for him to come out and do any kind of a transaction with anybody else. And simultaneously, if this can be believed, there was action, there was engagement, and not an action or engagement of, oh, come on, you're bringing me out of myself. No, there was just that self. Suddenly, there was the self, which was totally within this body, mind, sense complex that he occupied, and then there was a self as it were. It went out and greeted its extension in the form of you that was sitting in front of him. That is why sitting in front of Swamiji was sitting like sitting in front of Bhagavan. It was just that oneness all the time. There could be a room of 100, there could be a room full of 100 people, yet you would feel like you were the only person that was there. Why? Because right now, when you occupied the attention of his thought flow, when you just was caught up like a little dried leaf in the flow of his thoughts, you were the only thing that was there. And then that attention would go to somebody else, usually because they tugged on his sleeve, said, oh, look at me, look at me, look at me, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me, me, I'm here too. Okay, you're here too. There is no you. That was also himself. So one himself was just deep within. Within means the body mind from the standpoint of the body mind sense complex, and the other self, as it were, was just going out and doing things as it were, with no authorship, no stress, nothing. This in the Mandukya Upanishad, my friends, is called Ubhayataf Prajna. That consciousness, Ubhayataha means twofold consciousness. That consciousness, which is just one single, non-dually one, is as it were going, as it were coming, as it were acting, as it were resting in repose, all at the same time. So the twofold consciousness, one is abiding in oneself strongly, one is abiding in oneself. And this abidance is so deep. It's like knowing your name. You'll never forget your name. You'll know your name. And they have studied this, and even in cases of dementia, that's the last thing to go. Even one has some kind of dementia like Alzheimer's disease or something, the last thing to go is one's name. So one remembers it for a long time. So the name, just like you know your name, the Gnani knows where the I belongs. The I does not belong in the world of transaction, in the world of going, in the world of coming, in the world of up and down. The I firmly belongs with itself, resting in its own glory. But then, since the I is limitless, it can at the same time, it is possible for it to rest in its own glory and also, as it were, go out and greet somebody who it sees as an extension of itself. Both are possible. Why? Because the I is limitless, reason number one. And reason number two, the I is the I that, as it were, goes out and greets somebody is a mithya projection on the I that is staying behind and enjoying itself, as it were. So it's an as though twofold consciousness without really becoming two. It's that same one. It's that's why I said it is just like Bhagavan. It's just like Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna, again, Ubhayatav Prajna, all avatars, Ubhayatav Prajna. Prajna means that consciousness which is Ubhayataha, facing within, facing without simultaneously. So, in full cognition of themselves as Bhagavan, as Brahman, they, as it were, go out into the world and do things. And so, what is that reality for this Gnani is presented here by Lord Krishna for the simple reason that he wants Arjuna to get a glimpse of what this is all about so that Arjuna can get out of this Ragadvesha, what is that called? The Ragadvesha conundrum and following and identifying with the Ragadveshas. With this, we can look at the verse now. Yavan artha udapane. Udapana means any kind of a body of water. Udapana, pond, a watering hole for animals, a small lake, whatever it is. All this is called Udapana. Yavan means up till which point the artha, useful. Up till which point is useful a well, a body of water, a lake, a pond. And what are these bodies of water used for? For agriculture, for drinking by animals, for drinking by people. This is the use for the udapana, the bodies of water. So, and when they dry up, there is distress. Yeah, the cattle start to starve, and the people are upset. There is drought. The earth is parched and cracked. And so the Udapana is very useful for this particular community, this particular lake, pond, well, what have you. It is needed. Okay. Until which time? Yavan means until that time. Up till which time? Tavan. Until which time is it useful? It is useful until Sarvatas Samplutodake. Let's say there is a rain, terrible, big rain. 15 inches of water, foot and foot and a quarter of water. And then what? And then one day, next day also 15 inches of water like this, So then what happens is that there is water, 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 water everywhere. Everywhere there is water. And the water covers the Udapana as well. The water covers the lake. The water covers the well. So when there is water everywhere, do you still need to go in search of the well? That is the question asked in the first line. Do you still need to go in search of the well? No, because the water is available right here. To wash the clothes, for the agriculture, whatever it is, everything is in water, covered by water. Of what use is this well? Of what use is this lake? Is this pond? This is the drishtant, the example. The darshtanta is something which is very, very beautiful. Darshtanta means that which the example exemplifies. So what is that? This is the so tavan in the same way sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanatah brahmanasya vijanatah, the one who knows. So the Brahmana means the sannyasi, the one who knows, the Gnani. So the Gnani who knows this as well as this example, that, oh, I'm not going to go to fill my pot with well water when everything is already filled with water. The well has no use. Similarly, the one who is able to see the three Vedas, the first portion of the four Vedas, as useless, because whatever they could yield is everywhere. This is the translation. What do the first portion of the Vedas yield? So objects of desire fulfillment. So for the Gnani, everything is just, first of all, that desire is not really plaguing them. And whatever desires are there are non-binding desires, the desires that do not bind at all in the slightest way. And so then, and the second reason the desires don't really matter is because it's one big desire. Every desire becomes the Gnani's desire. How? Because the Gnani doesn't have any desires of themselves. That's why in the Mundakopanishad it is said, Atmagyam hi archayet bhuti kamaha. Bhuti kamaha means the one who wants bhuti. Bhuti means material, what is that? Material results. Material results, the one who wants. And material gains, like what, I want a house, I want my family to be well, I want the children to do well in school, I want my friends, I want my relatives to be well. All these are all material. I want money, I want fame. These are all material desires. So your desires are put at the feet of the Gnani. And if your prarabdha is not standing in the way, they become fulfilled because of your own bhakti and shraddha. That should be there. So when the bhakti and shraddha is there, just like when you go to Bhagavan and say, I want this, please give me this. And Bhagavan being desireless, your desire, becomes Bhagavan's desire to fulfill. Similarly, your desire becomes the Gnani's desire, which gets fulfilled on its own. Why? Because of your own Shraddha, your own Bhakti. And I saw this happen with Pujya Swamiji many times. People would come and say, please, 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 I want a new car. This couple came and said, I want a new car. And a new car was in their karma. Okay? Yeah. Usually it is pronounced karma. But when we talk of car, you can have the American pronunciation, karma. Okay? Only when you have car in the discussion. So then I want a new car, Swamiji, I want a new car. And Swamiji said, yes, it will happen. When, Swamiji? It will happen soon. And he even told him what kind of car to buy. He told these people, this is the make you should buy. This is what it will do. And then secretly that couple had a difference of opinion about the make of the car. The husband did not want that make at all. And then the wife said, no, 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 Swamiji has said, so this is the make that we should get. And then after a little while, they found out that some elderly uncle presented them with that exact same make of the car that Swamiji had said, you should get that. This is exactly how it happens. So your desire, since it's an altar of desirelessness, that altar of desirelessness can entertain your desire freely. Like it can make the desire dance, it can make the desire do some wonderful things. It can entertain that desire. Why? Because it's fun. Because there is freedom. That's why it's fun. Whereas the person who is asking that thing is holding on to this all with the teeth gritted and said, "Oh, I have to have it. I have." There is anxiety. There is stress. In the when that same desire, when that stressed out desire is released at the altar, which is the Gnani, the desire breathes a sigh of relief. It is free. It gets air. It just plays because it is not bound anymore. And that's why the Gnani becomes a Satya Sankalpa. Satya Sankalpa means there is no scarcity. Whatever he or she says comes to pass. Whatever he or she says comes to pass. Once I asked Pujya Swamiji, there was some lot of things that had happened which were very maddening. Some people had run away with lot of money, and somebody else was not doing what they were supposed to do. It was just all a big mess. And I said, Swamiji, don't you ever get angry? And Swamiji said, I cannot afford to get angry. These were his words to me. I cannot afford to get angry. And this was when I had first approached him, and there was still a lot for me to learn. And I just did not understand what he meant. What do you mean you cannot afford to get angry? When I understood this, then I understood, okay, why he cannot afford to get angry. Because just like for the Satya Sankalpa, for the person who is Satya Sankalpa, the desires also are all just there, all one. There is nothing. And then and if there is anger also, it can come true. That's also can come true. And some angry thought can come true. Therefore, Swamiji said, I cannot afford to get angry. That's why we have in the stories, sages like Jamadagni and Durvasa, all these, they would just curse. They wouldn't curse. Poor things. They had not. They just needed, some lessons in anger management. That's all. It's not a curse. But since they were of this, they had this knowledge, but then they did not have a say fully over the ways of their mind. Some nididhyasana they needed. That's all it was. So they got angry, and then that anger came out as a curse, came to pass because of this Satya Sankalpa. So now the thing is that the four Vedas, whatever it can give, the first portion of the Vedas, a happy family life, lots of money, lots of fame, lots of wonders. For the Gnani, it is everywhere. The fulfillment of the Gnani is like being surrounded by water. There is no dearth at all. And so therefore the four Vedas one is no longer addicted to, because there is no question of scarcity. And that is why this is a very beautiful verse illustrating the fulfillment of the Gnani. And let us look at the Bhashya. Yatha, yatha loke kūpatadāgādi anekasmin udapane परिच्छिन्न उदके यावान यावत् परिमाणः स्नानपानादि अर्थः फलं प्रयोजनम. यथा लोके, just as in the world, कूपतडागादि अनेकस्मिन् उदपाने. So just like a well, lake, pond, etc., Anekasmin means in many. Udapane, Udapane he translates very beautifully in the context of this verse. Parichinna udake means a limited body of water. A body of water that has a boundary. A limited body of water, limited, which has a limited volume of water. Just like these bodies of water are useful until when yavat parimanah, until when panadi arthah, snana panadi arthah. So in this world, as long as the purposes of bathing, drinking, agriculture, adi means you can take agriculture, and the like are served by the limited quantities of water in various wells, lakes, and ponds. Until that point, they are useful. They are useful. That utility derived is very much there. Very much there. That utility is there. So this is the utility for these limited bodies of water is there, because people have to bathe, people have to wash clothes, people have to cook, people have to drink water, people have to feed the animals. All these things, people have to irrigate the fields. So prayojanam sa sarvah arthah. सर्वः अर्थः मीन्स् सर्वतः सम्प्लुकुतोदके तावानेव सम्पद्यते तत्र अन्तर्भवति इत्यर्थः. So when, for example, the water is in plentiful, sampluta, plentiful, everywhere the water is, water everywhere. And then what? Then the well water is included in that water or not? Yes. The pond water is included in that water or not? Yes. So similarly, for the Gnani, all the Vedas. Vedas means here the desires represented and by the first three, the first portion of the four Vedas. All those desires are included, because the Gnani is when you say the Gnani, when we say the Gnani is a force of desirelessness, you can either say it like that, or you can say the Gnani is the abode of fulfillment. Both are there. And in fact, one is contingent upon the other. The desirelessness of the Gnani is what leads him or her to be the abode of fulfillment for everybody's desires. Just like the water which has covered the whole village, now it is useless to look for the well. Similarly, the Gnani's Sankalpa covers all desires, are included in this fulfillment. So the Jnani doesn't have a sense of lack or insecurity or some kind of a plaguing, binding desire. That's the idea. So tavaneva sampadyate tatra antarbhavati. Antarbhavati means it is included in that. And then further, Bhashya continues, evam tavan tavat parimanah eva sampadyate sarveshu vedeshu vedokteshu karmasu yah arthah yat karma phalam. Very beautiful Bhashya here. Evam tavan, in the same manner, until that time, tavat parimanah eva sampadyate. In the same manner, the fruits that are desired from that are derived from the karma, which are laid down in the first portion of the Veda, yajna, etc., which, those fruits are compared to the vast expanse of water collected in a particular area which covers the village, etc. So that is the mind or the temperament of the sannyasi, of the Gnani, who has known the realities, who has known the reality. So arthaha he translates as karma phala, because that's where the desire fulfillment is, karma phala. The fruits of action is how I fulfill my desire. First I act, and then I look for the fruits of action. And so, evam tavan tavat parimanah eva sampadyate sarveshu vedeshu vedokteshu karmasu. So, the karmas that are there enjoined by the first portion of the Vedas for those who want fulfillment. For the Gnani, those karmas are useless because the Gnani is already fulfilled, just like an entire body of water which covers the lakes and ponds, makes the lakes and ponds meaningless and useless. And so, Vijnana Phalam. So, the Gnani is not interested in Karma Phala, Adi Shankara says. Vijnana Phalameva. Yaha Arthaha Vijnana Phalam. Vijnana Phalam means the fruit of this knowledge. The knowledge has blossomed into a big tree and which is laden with fragrant flowers and tasty fruit. Why will you go borrowing and begging fruit from someone else? No. What other fruit is needed? You have you abide in your own glory. That is the fruit. You have no sorrow. That is the fruit. You have no anxiety, fear. Oh, that is the fruit. You have no conflict. That is the fruit. And so surrounded by these fruits, enjoying these fruits already. When the fruits are growing in your own tree, you don't look for the neighbor's fruits in the neighbor's tree. You're happy with what you have. And so Vijnana Phalam compared to Karma Phalam it requires ayasa, a lot of effort, a lot of disappointment, a lot of dejection. But Vijnana Phala does not require any effort at all. In fact, in the Vedanta Shastra, all the effort is made by the Vedanta teacher. Okay, you just have to sit and listen. Unlike the Buddhist tradition, in the Buddhist tradition, the teacher, just says one sentence. Can you clap with one hand? This is some kind of a Zen code. Okay, can you clap with one hand? No. Okay, then your homework is to tell me what is the sound that is produced when you clap with one hand. This is a Zen code. Describe the sound that is generated when you clap with one hand. Om Purnavadav Purnavidam, the class is over. Okay? And the student has to spend sleepless nights scratching the head. Clap with one hand. What is the sound? What is the sound with clapping one hand? And what am I supposed to understand from this? But the Vedanta teacher doesn't have that privilege. The Vedanta teacher has to give everything and repeat and make sure it is understood. And when blank faces are seen, even on Zoom, it has to be explained in a different way, and until until that understanding takes place. And so there is no ayasa in gaining jnanam. There is no effort at all. It's effortless. You just have to turn on the computer. That's all you have to do. You have to click a link. How hard is that? And so you just have to present yourself. Knowledge is effortless because it is really you. And what is really you is being given to you. That's really how it is. Your own nature. It's not that the teacher has to manufacture moksha, it's already there. Siddha Vastu. And then it's not that the teacher has to remove the sorrow. Along with moksha is already, you are already free of sorrow. It's not that the teacher has to save you. There is no such responsibility because you don't need to be saved. You're already saved. And so, because of these reasons, the Vijnana Phalam is, the fruit of Jnanam is much sweeter because it has come freely. Freely you partake. Just like, and then he says, Sarvata Samplutodakasthaniyam. So that Vijnana Phalam is Sarvata Samplutodakasthaniyam. That Jnana Phala, that joy out of Atma Jnanam occupies the space of being, having water everywhere in the example. तस्मिन् तावानेव सम्पद्यते तत्र एव अंतर्भवति. So everything, all the karma laid down in the Veda is included. in that vast expanse of water, in that which is understood by the vast expanse of water, that which is compared to that vast expanse of water, a fulfilled heart of the sannyasi. And then Adi Shankara quotes a very interesting portion of the Chandogya Shruti. Let us read. Sarvah Sarvam tad tad abhi sameti. Sarvam tad abhi sameti. Yat kincha prajaha sadhu kurvanti. Yastad veda yat saveda. Iti shrutehe. Chandogya, chapter 5, first portion, first Brahmana says, tells us the story of King Janashruti, who goes in search of knowledge from one guru called Raikwa. Suddenly, the king wants self knowledge. Maybe he had some Vedantins in his sabha, and some, or he heard of it somehow, or he read a book or something, and the desire for knowledge was born in this king, and he could not sleep. He was so restless. He wanted the knowledge yesterday. He wanted it just now. A lot of urgency for this knowledge. But he was a king, and he didn't know he had to go for this knowledge. So he clapped his hands and sent some army. And he says, go scour the whole kingdom and drag in a guru. Bring a guru. Bring the bestest guru in the whole world for me to study from. This was his command. So, of course, the army, the generals, commanders did as they were told. They went in all four directions, and then they found out who is the best guru. And they came to know that one person called Raikwa was the bestest guru in the whole kingdom. Everybody said, we are not, and this was, in a different yuga. So nobody, if the gurus were approached and said, are you the best guru? Nobody said yes. Everybody said, I do not know what Raikwa knows. Raikwa is the best guru. Go to Raikwa. Go to Raikwa. Raikwa is the best guru. See, that was probably in the Satya Yuga or somewhere where there was intellectual honesty. Raikwa. So they found out after doing a survey of all the gurus in the kingdom that Raikwa was the best guru. Where is Raikwa? Nobody knew. Oh, one day, some days he's in the forest, some days he's somewhere, just wandering around. Go find him, you'll find him in the forest. They scoured the forest for days on end. And they also said and they couldn't locate him, and the other gurus also said, the other sages said, he will not come to the palace. The king will have to go to him, and the king will go to him, and you have to go to him. So first, before bringing the king, they had to find the teacher. They couldn't find. Then finally they found, they heard that there is a broken down chariot, and he usually rests under that chariot. So then the king said, no, 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 don't go and find him. I will myself go, now that we have some information, and we have the approximate, what is that, GPS. Let's go and let's go find this chariot, and then wait there, and maybe he will come there. But then, when the king went with the 9 elephants laden with all the gold of the treasury, gold coins, jewelry, just the whole coffers of the entire kingdom were on these 9 elephant procession as Guru Dakshina to give to this Raikwa. And Raikwa was sitting under the chariot when they went, and they almost missed him. You know why? Because he completely defied every single concept of the Guru that anybody has in their head. He was barely dressed, wearing rags, and he was unkempt, disheveled, knotted, matted hair, and with leaves into woven into the dreadlocks. Dried leaves were part of the dreadlocks, and he very uncouth and a little bit creepy presence. Who would want to learn Vedanta from him? Nobody in their right mind. But we really have to applaud Janashruti because he was able to see past all of that. He was able to see past all of that and ask for this knowledge somehow. And so, and not only that, and if this presence was not uncouth and creepy enough, Raikwa had a terrible skin disease and was constantly scratching at all the scabs that had formed. And some of the scabs were bleeding, some of them were allowed to dry, some of them were just, oozing. So this kind of a situation there was. But Janashruti prostrated on the ground and asked for this knowledge. And Raikwa peered, came out from under the chariot and peered at this 9 elephant train. Janashruti had also taken his daughter, and he sent back the train. He said, "This is ridiculous. I'm not here for your money. And if you are offering money, you are not a fit student for this knowledge." And he looks at the daughter, the princess, and he says, "I'll teach her. I will teach her because she is ready for this knowledge. She doesn't have all these hang-ups as you." And of course, he taught Janashruti also. But this is what he said. And so this is the story of Raikwa. And talking about Raikwa, the other sages say, this is what the other sages said: Sarvam tad abhisameti. Abhisameti means is everything is folded unto him. Yat kincha prajaha sadhu kurvanti. So what is folded into him? This may seem rather unfair, but bear with this, okay? What is folded into him? Prajaha yadyat sadhu kurvanti. All the good deeds done by everybody else, the good karma, this fellow, this uncouth fellow sitting under the chariot, scratching himself day and night, is reaping the benefits of the good karma done by others. The fruits of their good karma accrue to him. Ayyo, how is this possible? I have to protect my own good karma. What should I do? Well, you don't need to protect because Raikwa is, and the people such as Raikwa, the Gnanis who are of the caliber of Raikwa, do not need your good karma, so it remains with you. They do not need the good karma. So the first portion here it says, Sarvam tad abhisameti yat kinchit prajaha sadhu kurvanti. Sadhu means good. So whatever good is done by prajaha, or by the whole world population of people, all of the good deeds, the karma phala, this Gnani can have if she or he wants. And then, yes, yaha tad veda. Yaha tad veda, the one who knows this. For the one who knows this, whatever the people do, means the first yaha tad veda is Raikwa. That Raikwa to the one who knows is the one unto whom the fruits of whatever good the people to do accrues to him, belongs to him. And then Yat Saveda. Yat Saveda means, and also to the one who knows what Raikwa knows. The one who knows what Raikwa knows. That Jnanam. If you know, you will also command everybody's good deeds. And that commanding of everybody's good deeds is matched by two things: total desirelessness and then total fulfillment accruing from total desirelessness. And that combination makes you entitled to the neighbor's karma phala, to the significant other's karma phala, to everybody's karma phala. But it's not fair. Why do things always come when I don't want them? Because that is the law of the universe. That is the law of the universe. Really, really nice. And so everything comes when you don't want it. That is the beauty of it, because then it becomes play. Then you can play in that. You can play in that which you don't want because it is not exerting a pressure on you. And then also in the Gita, sarvam karmakhilam partha gnane parisamapyate. In what fourth chapter, 33rd verse, it is said, sarvam karmakhilam partha gnane samapyate. So all actions finds its fulfillment and its cessation in knowledge alone. The knowledge puts an end to action. Knowledge puts an end to action because knowledge puts an end to desire. Knowledge puts an end to desire because it reveals that you are the most fulfilled person on the earth and you lack nothing. More we will see next week. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. There is a question for people such as myself who depend arthakama to gain ananda. So, performing a karma, water body, to fulfill a desire, while a Gnani knows samsara is not real. So, she would be indifferent to karma. Indifferent to karma. Correct? Yes, correct. So then how can there be water everywhere? Water everywhere because when one is indifferent to karma, there is, you understand that whatever you want is not dependent on karma phala. Is not dependent on karma phala. It is your own swarupa. That swarupa is water everywhere. You don't have to manufacture it. It's already there. It's already a reality. It's already there. And that is what is the beauty of this. Very, very nice question. And that is what one has to understand. Because the only kind of fulfillment that we appear to know is that which is manufactured by ourselves. That's what one knows. But here that fulfillment is not being talked about. It's talked about the fulfillment that you get, for example, in sleep, without fulfilling any desires, without any karma. That when you understand in the waking as your own nature, that it is not connected to karma at all. Okay.